Hello learners, this is Habiba with Excel with me. If you like the video, please do like, share, subscribe and comment below. Let's start today's class, that is Teacher Eligibility Test, Paper 2, Social Studies, Class 6, Chapters 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. We have already discussed about 5th, 6th and 7th in the previous classes. Today we are going to start with the last chapter of the history, that is 8th chapter. These are all we have discussed in the previous class. Very important questions here related to Mahajanapadas. Now, kingdoms and empires. First question, who became powerful among the 16 great kingdoms? In the previous class we have understood about the 16 great kingdoms here. Who are the powerful among them? That is Magadha. A territory ruled by king was called kingdom obviously, and large kingdoms were called empires. Who became the king of Magadha with the help of Koutilya? That is Maurya Chandragupta. Then who dethroned Mahapadmananda of Nanda dynasty and established the Mauryan empire? That is Maurya Chandragupta and Koutilya together. From where did the Mauryans ruled? That was from Pataliputra. Who was the Greek ambassador in the court of Chandragupta Maurya? That was Megasthenes. Who wrote a book named Indica, which is a source to know about the Mauryan administration? Megasthenes wrote that book, Indica. Who was also known as Chanakya? Koutilya or Vishnugupta, also known as Chanakya. Who was the Prime Minister of Chandragupta Maurya? That was Koutilya. Name the famous book by Koutilya or Chanakya? That was Arthashastra. After Chandragupta Maurya, who became the ruler of Magadha? That was Bindusara. Then after Bindusara, who became the king of Mauryan dynasty? That was Ashoka, son of Bindusara. Due to which war did Ashoka realize that victory through Dhamma was a real victory, and he devoted the rest of his life to non-violence? That was the Kalinga war, historical war. Then Ashoka's inscriptions on which war was found on the rock edict number 13? That was Kalinga. What was the main aim of Ashoka's inscriptions? To convey his message of Dhamma. Who appointed special officers to read his inscriptions to the illiterates? Because those times all the people were not literate, many people were not literate. That's why what did Ashoka did? That is, he appointed special officers to read the inscriptions. From which language does the word Dhamma, that is Dharma, originate? That is Prakrit. The main principles of Dhamma include: be kind towards animals, be obedient to father and mother, be kind towards the poor, respect the elders, never criticize other religions, work for the welfare of mankind. Where is the lion capital of Ashoka's pillar chosen as our national emblem? That was in Sarnath. When was the National Emblem of India, a symbol of the authority of a nation, officially adopted? It was adopted on 26 January 1950. What did the 4 lions in the emblem represent? 4 qualities of power, courage, confidence and pride. How does the wheel appear in relief in the center of an abacus? An elephant on the east, a bull on the west, a horse on the south and a lion on the north. Now let's see what does these animals represent. The elephant represents strength, the bull hard work, the horse loyalty, speed and energy, the lion bravery. Then Satyameva Jayathe, truth alone triumphs, is inscribed below the abacus. This is an extract from Mundaka Upanishad. What was the cause for the downfall of the Mauryan Empire? The successors of Ashoka were weak and inefficient. India had no strong ruler for how many years until the Gupta dynasty took control of North India? That was 500 years. Who became the ruler after Chandragupta I? His son Samudragupta. Who was an important ruler who defeated the Saka kings of Western India? That was Chandragupta II. Who defeated 9 important kingdoms of the North India were made part of his kingdom? That was Chandragupta II again. Now Chandragupta II defeated 12 rulers of the south and was allowed to rule after they surrendered, and it is stated that he conquered up to Kanchi in Tamil Nadu. In which subject was the Gupta period famous for great books and development? That is literature, mathematics, medicine and astronomy. There were 9 great scholars in the court of Chandragupta II. What were they called? They were called Navaratnas. Who was the famous poet among Navaratnas? Kalidasa. The Gupta period was famous for which caves? That was rock cut caves. Which are some of the paintings and sculptures of the finest examples of the Gupta period? That was Ajantha and Ellora caves. Now let's see the Navaratnas here, 9 jewels they were called. Amarasimha, he was lexicographer, that means person compiles all the dictionaries. Then Dhanvantri, physician. Harisena, Sanskrit poet. Kalidasa, a poet and playwright in Sanskrit. Then Vithala Bhatta, magician. Kahapanaka, astrologer. Shanku, architect. Varahamihira, astronomer. Vararuchi, mathematician and linguist. Now Aryabhatta, a very important person, he was a well-known astronomer and mathematician, and he was known to have used algebra. Now about Indian mathematicians, developed the idea of zero and the symbol to represent it, created the symbols for the numbers 1 to 9, also invented algorithms. Very important statements related to our Indian mathematicians. Who calculated solar year during the Gupta period? That was Brahmagupta, mathematician and astronomer. When was the first Indian satellite named after Aryabhatta launched? In the year 1975. Who were great persons who had good medical knowledge during Gupta period? That was Charaka and Sushruta. Who was the first Indian doctor who carried out plastic surgery to the damaged noses during the Gupta period? That was Sushruta. Now doctors of the Gupta period could set broken bones and perform operations. That means how knowledgeable persons during that period itself. What was the basic text for Ayurvedic medicine composed by Charaka, renowned physician of that period? That was Charaka Samhitha. The Indian scientists of the Gupta period, we need to know all these statements related to our Indian scientists of Gupta period. That is, they made important contributions in astronomy and science and noticed the movements of the planets and stars. They understood that the earth was round and it revolved around the sun. Then they said that eclipses occur when the moon comes between the sun and the earth. They also seem to have understood gravity. Now the scientists of Gupta period were experts of metallurgy also. They made steel and iron tools and weapons. They minted sophisticated gold coins. Next question. India witnessed great inventions and discoveries in science, astronomy, mathematics and literature during whose period? Obviously the Gupta period. That's why this Gupta period called as Golden Age. What was the Gupta period called in Indian history? Golden Age. The great period of Gupta's empire came to an end with whose invasions? Hunas. Soon after the fall of the Mauryan Empire, many headmen of clans in the Deccan area emerged as small kings. That is, the Satavahanas were one among them. Very important, these clans we have to remember in further questions. What was the extent of Satavahana's large kingdom? That is, extending from the river Narmada to the Krishna Godavari belt. The Satavahanas ruled from Dhanyakataka near Amaravathi in Guntur district, which is located on which banks of the river? That is Krishna. Who were the important Satavahana kings who ruled for 300 years? That is Gauthamiputra Satakarni, Vasishtiputra, then Pulamavi and Yagnashri Satakarni. Who was the greatest ruler of the Satavahana dynasty? That's Gauthamiputra Satakarni. Whom did Gauthamiputra Satakarni defeat? The Sakas, the Yavanas and the Pallavas. Who conquered the land between the three seas and got the title of Trisamudradishwara? That is Gauthamiputra Satakarni. The Sakas, the Yavanas and the Pallavas he conquered. That's why Trisamudradishwara he was called. Which Satavahana coins reveal that Andhra had great skill in sea trade and naval power? That is the ship coins. The Satavahanas had good command of the seas and good trade relations with whom? That is with Rome. Which religion was adopted by the Satavahanas? That is Hinduism. Which religion was also encouraged by the Satavahanas? That is Buddhism. What were the well-known centers of Buddhism during the Satavahanas? That is Nagarjuna Konda and Amaravathi. After the end of the Satavahanas, who established their kingdom with a capital at Vijayapuri? That is Ikshvakus. Where was Vijayapuri located? Near Nagarjuna Konda on the banks of the river Krishna. People of many clans lived in those days. The Ikshvakus tried to strengthen their kingdom by marriages with the people of other clans, who claimed to be the descendants of Lord Rama of the Ramayana. They were Ikshvakus. Which dynasty ruled their kingdom between 300 CE and 900 CE Common Era from Kanchipuram in Tamil Nadu? That is Pallava Dynasty. From which river valley did the Pallavas establish their rule? That is the Krishna River Valley. Pallavas further spread to southern Andhra Pradesh and north Tamil Nadu. Whose rich contribution to the architecture in South India shows a shift from rock-cut temples to stone-built temples? That is the Pallavas. Who was an early famous ruler of the Pallava dynasty? That is Mahendravarman I. Mahendravarman I was a great patron of art and architecture and introduced which new style of architecture? That is Dravidian architecture, which was known as Mahendra style. Who was the next important king of the Pallavas after Mahendravarman I? That was Narasimhavarman I. Who was the son of Mahendravarman I and known as Malla? Mamalla. That is Narasimhavarman I. Narasimhavarman I converted which port into a beautiful city of art and architecture? That is Mahabalipuram. What was the style of architecture developed by Narasimhavarman I known as? That is Mamalla style of architecture. How many Raths were built in Mahabalipuram? That is 5. What were the 5 Raths built in Mahabalipuram popularly known as? That is Pancha Pandava Rathas. What was each Ratha built in Mahabalipuram carved out of a single rock called? That is monolithic. Who was another Pallava king who concentrated on temple building activities also known as Rajasimha? That is Narasimhavarman II. Which new style of architecture was developed during the period of Narasimhavarman II? Temples were built by using soft sand rocks. What were the temples built by using soft sand rocks known as? That is Rajasimha style. Which famous temple is the best example of the Rajasimha style? That is Kailashnath temple at Kanchipuram. Which dynasty ruled large parts of southern and central India between 600 CE and 1200 CE Common Era? That is Chalukya Dynasty. Who was one of the first kings of Chalukya who ruled from Badami in Karnataka? That is Pulakesi I. Who was a well-known king who defeated the emperor Harshavardhana in a battle near the river Narmada? That is Pulakesi II. Where was the defeat of Harshavardhana by Pulakesi II mentioned? In Aihole inscription. Where is the Aihole inscription located? That is located in Bagalkot district of Karnataka. Who composed the Aihole inscription? That is Ravikirti, the court poet of Pulakesi II. What was the new style of architecture developed by Chalukyas? That is Vesara. A new style of architecture, Vesara, was a combination of which building styles? That is South Indian Dravida and North Indian Nagara. Pulakesi II defeated which Pallava king crossing the Kaveri river? That is Mahendravarman I. Pulakesi II made friendship with whom? The Cholas, the Cheras and the Pandyas. Name the village in Bagalkot, Karnataka where 10 temples were built. That is Pattadakal. 4 out of 10 temples in Pattadakal village in Bagalkot, Karnataka were built in which style? They were in northern style, that is Nagara. 6 out of 10 temples in Pattadakal village in Bagalkot, Karnataka were built in which style? That is southern Dravidian style. Virupaksha temple and Sangameshwara temples were built in which style? That is Dravidian style. Then Papanatha temple was built in which style? Nagara style. So we come to the end of this session. If you like the questions, please do like, share, subscribe and comment below. I'll come up with other chapters in the next class. Thanks for your attention and time. Happy learning.